Hello and welcome to the 91 podcast, the show where we dig deep into people's passions with the aim to encourage, inspire, and educate you. On today's episode, we have Babasola Kuti. Welcome, Shola.
Thank you for having me.
Shola, I was doing some research on you online and I
Yeah.
found out a big secret.
What is that big
Your
secret?
first name is Anthony.
Yes, it is.
Why do you hide that? Are you trying to seem more Nigerian? Why do you never write Anthony anywhere? It's always Shola Kuti, Shola Kuti. I've never known your name was Anthony until today.
Well, my government name is Anthony Babasola Kuti. So everywhere else, I'm called Anthony. But friends growing up, they always call me by my Nigerian name. So it was always Shola Kuti, Babasola Kuti, something like that.
Okay, so you just choose not to use it.
I do. Funny enough, I do use it. I mean, everywhere I've sort of like worked. Every time I go anywhere official, it's always my first name. I've got to use my first name. But when I'm in Nigeria, it's always Babashola. Nobody calls me Anthony, apart from teachers.
Okay. I thought it was a secret.
No, it isn't.
And
As you see.
something else. I've seen several pictures online of you wearing like a robe in church. Are you a priest?
No, I'm not, but I serve on the team in church in my local Church of England. So yes, I am. I am part of the service team. So
what do you do?
I do also a variety of things. I mean, I'm either carrying the cross or a crucifer, or I'm a thurifer, which means that I'm doing the incense. Or sometimes I'm just the main server, which means I sort of like assist the priest with communion and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Are you very religious, very into church?
I come from quite a religious background. To give you a perspective, my parents were Catholic originally, and then my dad, when he went back to Nigeria, went back to the Anglican Church. But all my life, I've basically darted between the Catholic and the Anglican Church. At some point in my life, I did go to a few Pentecostal churches as well. But I don't see myself as religious in terms of church going. I see myself as religious in terms of service, to mankind. I want to be able to do my religion, as it affects people.
Service to mankind. That sort of gets into the whole political thing.
Correct.
Because most people take politics as something to serve the people, and other people take it to just have some power anyway.
Serve yourself.
Yes, serve yourself. So that goes into my third question before we get into the topic of today.
Yeah.
Why did you not support?
Support who?
Why did you not support Pio?
Oh, you see, I'm a practical politician. I think Peter Obi is a great politician. I think he's more a great businessman than he's a politician.
Why do you say that?
I think because politics is, very complicated. Politics is, it shows you the bad side of people, the worst side of people. I think that I didn't support Peter Obi because I didn't actually believe he could win. I'm one of the people that said if Peter Obi gets 500,000 votes, that would be fantastic. But as this wave went on, even I was pleasantly surprised. Everybody that knows me knows that I'm the guy that is likely to support the underdog
Yes.
always.
Yes, so I was shocked that you were not supporting him.
But I'm also very careful to look at a problem, wholly. So essentially, I looked at the problem. I always said at the end that in the end, two parties will produce a president, APC or PDP. I don't know how it's going to happen, but those are the likely two. Because in order to become president of Nigeria, you not only need to win the majority of votes, you also need to satisfy a requirement to get 25%, at least 2/3 of the states. So for me, that was very important. You can only do that if you have sort of like a national spread in terms of politicians across the divide, especially if you're a southerner and you want to go and penetrate in the north, for instance. I just felt that Peter Obi's time would come. I also believe that Peter Obi had not really exposed himself to the type of politics that we do at national politics yet. I believe that Atiku had a lot of experience as a former vice president or a very stumbling giant of Africa. Nigeria stumbled for like the last 2 decades, we have to admit, or at least 1.5. And I thought that we needed someone who had seen it all, done it all, had the power in his hands, and we needed someone who would be able to sit in that chair and not be like, oh yeah, I'm president. What now? Because it's a big job. I also thought that, and I'm, like I said, I'm practical with politics. I also thought that for somebody from the Southeast to win an election would have to practically beg the entire country to support him the way we begged them to support Jonathan, or they begged them to support Jonathan in 2011, because Jonathan came from a minority. The circumstances will mean that Peter Obi has to be at least a vice president in order for us to be able to achieve that and get a national consensus for him. It's a practice. Look, there's no bigger person. There's no person who has thought about the Southeast agenda like I have, at least in my generation. I've always talked about it, that I believe that the Southeast must run the country, if only to say, "Shey people who have run the country now, you are happy. We are no longer marginalized. Oh yeah, let us rest." I always say that even if that's all we achieve, let there be equity so that nobody will say, "I haven't done it." Let everybody do it, and then let's say, "Shebi, you've run it now, Abi, so we can rest. Let's move on." So I'm a big proponent of the power going to the Southeast as well as to the Northeast. I don't like excuses. It's because we have never run Nigeria before. That's why X is Y and Y is Z. I like people to be able to say, okay, you haven't done, here, go. Like I used to tell people then, I said, this Buhari, I wish that he could be president. So people will see exactly how bad he is. I mean, look, let's be honest. Even the people in APC would not argue with me today about Buhari's incompetence. It was, easily the worst government we've had.
Terrible.
Now, going back to your issue on PO, I think, like I said, I love the underdog theory. I just think that in this election, I always said that it was two things. Anybody that votes for PO is voting against Atiku and voting for Tinubu. I said that clearly from the beginning. I said, because I've looked at it. Tinubu is not going to get any new votes from the Southeast, or if the Southeast had a choice, they will vote for Atiku or Peter Obi. Now, if Peter Obi is not in the race, they will lean to Atiku. They won't go to Tinubu. But the minute Peter Obi is in the race, not only Southeast, a lot of young people will lean towards him. This is not to take away, from what he's done. I think what I've seen is an incredible, incredible race. I think this is something that is so encouraging. But again, the problem is that it's also very centered around the personality of Peter Obi. It isn't like these people are going to come together and say, well, Peter Obi is done now. He's not contesting. Let us look for another person to rally around. They will never agree on it.
There's something you said. You said he's a good businessman, not a good politician.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another question. What actually makes a good politician?
I think a good politician must be able to see beyond opportunity. So essentially, a good politician must be able to say, I am not going to win this election. Or there is a chance I will not win this election. But if I do this or team up with this person, we will definitely win the election. You and I know that in 2019, for instance, Atiku and Obi won the election. Without a shadow of a doubt. And that was with strongman Buhari, who has this core northern followership. Now in 2023, it was also more than likely that if that ticket had come again, it would have been declared, they would have defeated Tinubu hands down. But here's where a good politician and a good businessman are different. A good businessman sees opportunity and he sees possibility. A politician will see opportunity, possibility, but he will also see reality. And it's that reality that I think both Atiku and Obi missed in this last election. Because I'm not going to put the blame on Obi's doorstep alone. I'm going to put the blame on Atiku's doorstep for not seeing that he was being booby-trapped as well. You know what I mean? It was a booby trap, and both people fell for it. So basically, you guys are strong together, but they say you go on your own, and you do it, and obviously you're weak.
What are the main characteristics of a politician?
Good politician or just a politician?
Of a good politician.
I think a good politician must be someone who wants to really serve the people, who cares about the people. I think that a good politician must be someone who is decent enough to be honest about issues. It's very difficult to campaign, I must say. I mean, globally, I've seen this, and I repeat it time again. that people make promises that they can't keep. You know you're not going to be able to keep that promise, but you're going to make a semblance of a promise that, oh, I'm going to fix 25 roads in this local government and in the next 3 years. But you know you're only going to fix 3. The idea is that you're going to try and fix 25, but you know that you can't possibly do it because there's no funding. But you still make these promises to make everybody happy. Because but the point is that a good politician must be able to be decent in his campaigns, decent in his in his political life. I think a good politician must really be someone who is also in tune with reality. I think that's what the problem Nigeria has had. As a politician, you must know the price of bread. You must know the price of eggs. You must know the price of petrol, kerosene, kunu, whatever it is that people, the everyday man, has to access. Because if you are out of touch with it, I think this is what has really held us back down with our leaders. They're so out of touch. If you call all 26 governors or whatever we have, and you ask them what's the price of a loaf of bread, I bet you none of them knows. So if you do not know the price of a loaf of bread, how then do you know if your staff can afford it? Because, and then if you also ask them how much they pay their staff, you find out that their staff are still poorly paid, and they survive on basically gifts and visitors coming and giving them tips. And the point I'm trying to make is that we need to reset our reality as politicians. We need to be able to look at what is on the ground. Essentially, how much are we getting paid? How much are our staff getting paid? Can they live? Can the governors, can they live on their salary? Let's be honest. Can they fuel all those cars on their salaries? Can they have all these family members, people, hangers on their salary? The truth is that they can't. So in Nigeria, everybody is running on autopilot. Everybody is just basically doing what they can to survive. So it's like a squabble, really. Everybody's like, is it free for all? And I think that, to go back to your question, that a good politician must be able to know the realities of the environment and also be able to understand how to tackle those realities. And then they must want to do it. It's one thing to, it's one thing to come and say, oh, I'm struggling to pay my children's fees. And I say, okay, yeah, I've heard. And it's nothing to say, look, you've come to me 2 or 3 times to pay your children's fees. I've done it, but you're still here. How can we get you to be able to pay on your own?
Yeah.
What is it that you can do? That's the way governors and people in government have to start to think, to set the people free. The reason why they don't do this is also because they want to keep the people imprisoned, socially imprisoned. So essentially, they want to keep you down so that they can continue to manipulate you during election time. And I think that also is a big mistake, because then we're building a very dangerous society.
There's this common belief that for you to be a politician, especially in Nigeria, you have to be, you can't be a person with a good conscience. Yeah, you have to be ruthless. You have to either be doing bribes here and there. You have to, even some people, maybe you have to use juju or something. Yeah, you can't be a person with a good conscience. Yeah. Is this true? Or is it just people,
I think largely I'd say yes, it is true.
Oh, okay.
Even the greatest politician will tell you, even the best politician will tell you, even the most decent politician will tell you that you've had to bribe people to get by.
So nobody is actually clean. You have to get dirty to be a politician.
Nobody's clean. Look, it's the honest truth. Look, sometimes when you're in an environment where, so for instance, let me give you an example. You're in an environment where they say you've got to get to the store by 6 a.m., to get food for your family, okay? And then you wake up in the morning, 5:30, it's going to take you 20 minutes to get to the store, to get to, and then you have an extra 10 minutes just in case something happens on the way. So you plan your journey, you go on this journey, get to the store at 10 minutes to 6, and you find out that some other people have already taken all the food. What are you going to do tomorrow? Are you going to wait till 5:30?
No,
you're going to leave earlier. You're going to probably find out, so how did they get the food first? Oh, they came here at 4. Okay, no problem. You're going to wake up at 3:30, get there by 4, and then you're going to do exactly. Because at the end of the day, if you go on that journey 10 times, the way you have done the first time, you'll get nothing.
Yeah.
So most politicians actually set out to go about it. They believe they can win an election. Let's go and do it fairly. But then there's that. I always tell people everybody has to rig.
Hmm.
So when people say somebody is rigging, I say no, we are all rigging.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're not rigging because you didn't win. You're rigging because you've won, but they are rigging you out.
So you rig back.
So you have to rig back to just maintain your distance.
Rig me, I rig you.
You know, and you know, is this, you know, a decent society cannot thrive in such an environment where, and sometimes because it's become such a culture, even when you're not being rigged out, you still want to rig just in case. You don't want to hear.
In case a rigging
You
comes
don't,
out.
you don't want
someone-
to look at these elections. I mean, just imagine the effrontery that people were. INEC had not uploaded results, and people were celebrating the. I mean, as at the day they announced the election, there were only 25% of results on the portal. So where was INEC getting results from? And then some of the results were people's faces. Some of them were cancelled out shamelessly. You know, now you tell me, if you were participating in an election tomorrow, would you not be thinking, well, if INEC is going to turn off the server, let me be the person that benefits from it.
Yeah.
So as they are cancelling their own results, you are cancelling your own. You don't know how much they're cancelling
You don't know
by,
what happens. So,
but
yeah.
you don't, and this is how the system continues to
Is this the
decline.
same everywhere else, or is it just in Nigeria that politicians have to be dirty? Are politicians also dirty in countries like America or the
Do you
UK?
know? Do you know this is a really good question? And honestly, I do believe in my heart that a lot of nonsense goes on in politics even here. Because I mean, look, have you ever gone to vote here? You just walk in, 3 old ladies there with a pencil, not even biro or pencil. You just mark your thing with a pencil and
There
go.
you go.
Do you know if they erase that thing or they throw it away and put another one? You don't know.
No, never.
So
heard of it.
I believe that by and large the process is fair because it assumes that people will do the right thing.
Yes.
And if somebody doesn't do the right thing and is caught, then there big massive penalties.
But
to
no
pay
one is
for it.
looking out to catch anybody because they're just
So they're
feeling
assuming. So there might be some little bits and pieces. I mean, if you go and do a Google search, you probably find that we know about what happened during the Trump election with America, people trying to load votes and all that. So we know that it happens in America. I mean, that is clear. So it means that no democracy technically in the world is free from manipulation. And that's the honest truth. But it's just how you go about it. Is it brazen? The answer is no.
So what are the qualities a politician has to have? Because I was having a conversation with someone and they're talking about, if you're a politician, you have to be ready to turn your conscience off. Like when it comes to you have to bomb this place or bomb that place, or you have to starve people here. You have to be ready to turn off your conscience and not feel those things so you can sleep well at night. So I think the word is maybe being ruthless. You have to be ruthless.
I mean, I think you're probably talking about people in leadership. So essentially, like the president now, he can't be a nice guy. Yeah, a governor cannot be a nice guy because when they tell you, oh, the gang of youths that are stealing, people's goods and robbing people and killing people and doing all sorts, as president, you just say to them, go and smoke them out, deal with it. Your instruction is essentially do whatever it takes, shoot at sight. Or sometimes you've heard that from presidents. And the reason is that, to be in a position of leadership is a tough thing everywhere in the world. Because there's always someone that's going to look to embarrass your government. There's always someone that's going to look to undermine your government or make you look like you don't know what you're doing. And the natural reaction from most leaders is to show force. So that the next person will be like, I'm not trying that. But also, it's something that we've seen in Nigeria that's failed time and again. You look at the war on Boko Haram or bandits, and you can see that it's really not gotten anywhere. Every year, the Nigerian Navy smoked 500 people. They threw a bomb somewhere, threw into a village instead. And you keep on asking yourself that, how many innocent people have to die for us to be able to get a resolution? But it also shows that it's not everything is solved by force. And there's a saying, I think from a part of northern Nigeria, that what peace does not solve, war will not solve it. That even when you go and fight a war, you still come back and sit on the negotiating table to agree on how to move forward. So essentially what it says that you can resolve everything peacefully. And you should try to. Because even in the end, even when you fight a war, you still come back and sit down and say, okay, yeah, we won the war. Here's what we want. So, for me, I think that having a conscience is important to any leader.
Mm.
You want to be affected by pictures you see every morning when you wake up of people being killed, by bandits, or there's an accident and the Nigerian Air Force mistakenly bombs a village instead of a
Mm.
bandit hideout. You don't want to be like, well, it's part of it, man. It's collateral
Oopsie.
damage.
Mm.
Exactly. You want to be able to have, a sense of responsibility for wrongdoing so that you can do better. Because the idea is basically to improve on whatever has happened and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Okay, before I go into my next question, Shola, you've been in politics before.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you're not a nice guy? And also, have you had to be dirty then?
Yes, yes. I mean, look, we have to have these honest conversations. And
Mm.
yes, I was in politics. Yes, I was not a nice guy.
Hmm.
I'm the guy that puts the bad guys away, gets rid of them, makes them go away during elections.
Mm.
So I couldn't have been a nice guy, but I'm also a compassionate guy. So when people ask me what the order is, or should we do this, I'm like, no. The idea is you find them and you put them under lock and key. I didn't say you should go and kill anybody.
Mm.
It's very important. That's why I say you have to be, careful about where you draw the line. No matter, even if it's a murderer that I'm looking for,
Mm.
I wouldn't tell the person, just find them and kill them. I'll say, find them and let's bring them to justice. I want to hear what they've done. I want to see that, yes, we do have evidence and we're able to convict this person. The reason being is that sometimes mistakes are made. Sometimes somebody has given you the false information and you act on it. And it's only after the fact that you're like, this is not even the person we're looking for. What do you do then? So it's always better to kind of like, so yes, in politics, you have to be tough. It's a kill or be killed situation, for most. But for some of us, we as young people, we realize that we grew up in, if you've been to a university environment in Nigeria, you know how it is. You are basically running with all sorts of people. And sometimes you are under threat. Sometimes, it becomes a bit uncomfortable. You are caught up in the middle of a crossfire between two rival cult groups or gangs or whatever. So for some of us, it's always been like, all this is meaningless. As in, what is it that you're trying to achieve? So you always looked at it from even in politics, that look, it doesn't make sense for people to be shooting at each other. None of you are contesting this election. The person that is contesting is sipping cocoa in his house, watching NTA in air conditioning. And you people are here, cutlass, knife, and
Killing
gun,
each other.
killing each other. What is your stake in this? And so that's what we've always preached, that, we want a peaceful process. And we try to change the landscape a little bit because, as I said, people are far removed from reality in Nigeria, a lot of politicians. That's why this whole gangster, gangland kind of politics has become very attractive, because who's getting killed? Some guy they never heard of. But for some of us in the younger generation, we've decided, no, this is not the way to go. It's not the way we were brought up. And we don't care whether we know them or not. We don't want to be going to a rally and we'll get attacked. And then we now say, okay, let us go and attack the other people. Yeah, you can defend yourself and run away or whatever. But it isn't to now start looking for reprisal attacks, because then it never ends. So yes, I would say it's a dangerous, people always say that politics is dirty, it's dangerous. Yes, it is right. It is dangerous because sometimes some people will just decide that they don't want you in the game and they will do everything to take you out. But again, it's how you play it as well. You already assume the worst. So always make sure that you're protected. You don't tell anybody where you are at any point in time. You change locations. It's hard work.
What you just mentioned, not telling anybody where you are, changing locations. Have you ever had to,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Sometimes you are in a location 10 days after you've left the location. So you are talking about the location, but you left 10 days ago. You just have to be careful, I think, because you don't know who's watching. Sometimes people are not watching you for harm. So it's the story my uncle used to tell me as a kid, because he was a medical doctor, but also got involved in politics. So he used to tell me that I should stop telling people when I'm coming back from a journey, when I'm, he said, because it's not like your driver is going to go and plan for you. That most of the time, The driver just goes to the mechanic and says, you know what? My guy is coming back from America tonight. So I want to service the car. So the AC, everything is working. Now, he's telling the mechanic this, but there are 5 other guys in the mechanic's workshop that are listening, who are criminals. And they're like, hang on a minute, this guy coming from the US, probably has dollars. Let's go and they'll find out where does the guy live. They heard the time of the flight. So he always says, don't tell anybody your movement because they may not know when they are talking about it that somebody else is listening that will take advantage of the situation. So it's something that I've imbibed all my life. I do tell people when I'm moving, but only people that need to know.
Okay, I want to get into a little how-to guide. Okay. So I want you to give us steps on how to become the president of Nigeria. So step 1 to 5, give us steps. Because you've analyzed a lot of politicians. You know a lot about politics in Nigeria. You know how the game is played. So if I, for example, today wanted to become president of Nigeria, what are the steps I should take to win?
Join a political party. Step 1.
Step 1.
At your ward level. This is what I was told by the then PDP chairman when I met him in 2003. He said, go back to your ward level. Join, make a lot of noise. Then come back here. When we talk about you to your ward chairman, he'll be like, I know that boy, very nice boy, that you have to be physically present locally. Yeah, they've got to know you in your ward, which is the lowest unit politically. The second thing I'd say also, if you want to be president, is that you've got to then begin to build some sort of political machinery. I think joining at your local level, what you need to do is then for instance, at the local level, you have like ward chairman, secretary, youth leader. For you to become president, you need to be able to be in control of that ward level of your party at ward level.
And how do you do that? How do you control?
That is difficult because what it means that you would be such a force that you would be at least responsible for getting people elected into those offices. So essentially, your power block must be your ward. As you can see in the last election, some people got suspended, like PDP chairman, by people in his ward. I mean, isn't that just laughable? A whole chairman of a party nationally, but some unknown guys in his ward who have no clout were able to suspend him, and the court has held on to that. So from your ward level, I think the next thing would then be to be known at your state level. Again, you must be able to be known at your state level, or maybe your local government level, I beg your pardon.
Is this step number 3 or is this 2?
No, this is still step number 1.
2. So 1. Oh, okay.
Okay, no, number 2. So step number 1 is register with the political party and then be known at your ward, local government, state level, and be known nationally. You're running for office for president after all. If you're running for local government chairman, I say be known at your local government. It stops there. But because you're going all the way to national, you have to win the nomination of the party across the country. So we've got to basically be known at those levels. It means that you have to be able to have a nice war chest. Because all those things I'm saying, ward chairman, ward secretary, youth leader, it seems like I always tell some of my friends that, the thing that we've lacked as young people is the ability to understand how those things work. Look, a ward chairman, I have probably nominated a ward chairman before. I have done that. I've said to somebody, this is the person that's going to be ward chairman, and that's it. And they will say, okay, they will discuss with the elders, blah, blah, but I've already nominated him, that's it. And it happened. Not because I said so, but because it made sense. But he also asked me for my backing, I gave it to him. So if I have that guy in that seat, it's likely that anything I want to do at my ward level is secure. Okay? It's politics. It's horse trading. What do they call it? Yeah, horse trading. So now you do that at local government, at state level and at national level. So you're known, like I am known within my party at all those levels. It's funny because I was known at national level first, but they said go back to base and start from there again. Yeah. So you do that, and then once you have at national level, you start to build a political machinery, which is number 3, across those, so like 3 or 4 areas. So you build at your ward level, very easy to do. The ward level is like people in this close
Mm.
and the next close on the next street.
This sounds like it
It's
requires a lot of finance.
well, it depends on what. If you are in Ikoyi, you don't need to buy pure water for your neighbors. But if you are in Alimosho or Oshodi,
Mm.
it's likely that you will need to finance some of your meetings and stuff. But it's not expensive. I keep on saying to young people that if you want to really change politics, you must go down to that ward level and actually, if you don't want to be ward chairman, put somebody there that wants to be.
Mm.
Choose somebody, your cousin, your friend, somebody that is decent enough to be able to do that job. It's not a paid job, so nobody's fighting for it. But most of the people that they put there are just lackeys. They will go collect a pittance and do whatever they're told.
Mm.
You need to put people there that will think responsibly and act responsibly. So I think that it isn't that expensive, but you need to start from the very base. Because if you start from the base, for instance, then if we all start from the base to our ward levels, then we can combine at local government to put decent lots of people in local government level. Then we can combine at local government level to put somebody in the states
Mm.
or officers in the state level. And then you now see a different, complexion to the political dynamics. So I think once you've done that, then you start building your national spread, because you're going to have to win votes from every single state.
Mhm.
That's within your party. This is not the main election yet. So you're going to have to win votes from delegates from, every single state across the country. So you've got to build so have 5 or 10 people who are working for you in each state,
Mhm.
Either paid or unpaid, who also have clout like you and can then drive your purpose forward. So once you get the nomination of your party, then the big one is here.
Mm.
Luckily, if you get the nomination of your party, you get support from governors who are already existing in the party and other people, businessmen who support the party. They say, yes, we like you, want you to be president. Then you get that. Then you've got to do nationwide campaign, and then try and win the elections. I think basically that's it. But it sounds so easy.
Yes, I was going to say that. It sounds
but everything
too
I've
easy.
said now will probably take at least 2 or 3 decades. I mean, you look at someone like Tinubu. How long has he been
2 or 3 decades.
thinking of
Wow.
being president?
Wow.
Think about it. Probably since 1999. Yes, when he first became governor, because already a senator before that, then he became governor. And he probably thought, I'm going to achieve what Awolowo and MKO never did. So his single ambition since 1999 or before that, but let's just start with 1999, has been to be president. And he has worked hard at it.
So it'll take someone 30 years to be able to.
Yes. But then on the flip side of that, there's the Peter Obi, who dead. But Peter Obi is very deliberate. I mean, people think, people just like PO. But Peter Obi he's been doing the right things for the last 10 years. Going on those, what's that thing that he goes to every year? The platform. To go and sell I have 1 wristwatch, I have 2 pairs of shoes, and sell his message. He's been doing that for a decade, at least 5 years. Peter Obi goes everywhere he's invited to. Okay? So Peter Obi is not your average politician, big man. You can walk up to him. I flew back with Daddy, by the way, to London. I think he brought his kids here, and I walked up to him and shook his hand. That's not your average Nigerian politician. These guys they're not like anything you've seen before. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can probably see Atiku in London and might be able to go and greet him and say hello, but there are always
Less
people around
likely
him.
to, yeah.
Because the former vice president, Peter Obi, had the luxury of being someone who's stripped back. He doesn't have an ego. He's easy to talk to. He's easy to approach. And people didn't see that as something that Nigerians love, because I was confused. In one breath, you see the loud Southeastern guys throwing money in the air and people praising that stuff, and then the same people are saying, we like PO, he doesn't spend money. And I'm like, I'm so confused. But people didn't see the danger in what Peter Obi represented. I mean, it's a good danger. I like people who are stripped back, who are humble. Peter Obi was like, like an Obama. Obama was a president, but he was still approachable. People saw him, shook him. He was eating something somewhere. He was always, And it is a political gimmick at the end of the day. I wrote the script.
Hmm.
you
So
know
you
what
don't think what he's doing is real?
It's not real. It's a political gimmick at the end of the day. But not many people can do it. Not many people can put themselves in that position of somebody just walking up to you and slapping you. You know what I mean? That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because many of our politicians are scared of their own shadow. Because I don't know whether it's because they think they haven't done well or because they just have a fear of Nigerians. And I think that Peter Obi didn't care. He didn't care for his own safety. He didn't think about it too much. Let me give you another example. This man walks up to the IDP camp in Benue, donates 4 million or 2 million. People are like, rubbish, 2 million there. Somebody else goes there, donates 50 million. Who gets the votes?
50.
The one that does the form, we got the votes in Benue. Oh. Do you understand? Again, define logic, Nigerian logic as it is, because we always believe that Nigeria money talks and everything else works. But again, I'm just trying to show you that what Peter Obi has done has never been done before.
Yeah.
I'm a great admirer of people who, confuse everybody. As in, he's confused everybody. Even he himself wasn't confused. I'm sure it's like, what has gone on here? What is going on? Is this really true? Can he sustain it? Can Nigeria sustain it? The answer is probably no, unfortunately. Because it has taken an unrealistic belief. Okay? That kind of like, Peter Obi is a god. Capital G. Yeah? Capital G, I said. To many people. They don't look at him as a human being. They look at him as this guy that can do no wrong. Peter Obi is on the level of some pastors who you cannot say anything bad about on social media. It is a frightening dimension.
Believe me, I can't say anything bad about him, to be honest.
It's a frightening dimension. It isn't as if he doesn't have faults. But his faults are not significant enough for anybody to talk about them. And when you even see something that he's done that is not so right, and you try and bring it to the fore, people will attack you. Because he has been given this status that doesn't belong to him. No politician should ever be treated like that in a modern democracy. Okay? I'll tell you why. It's the same thing that happened with Buhari. And I kept on telling people, this is Buhari all over again, but you guys can't see it. And it just means one thing. It means that we are looking for that savior so badly. When we find the best thing to honesty, to humility, to that stripped back, accessible, we go mad. We just lap it up. But we also forget on the flip side is a regular human being who pisses his wife off, whose kids can't stand him sometimes because of his views, who we are worshipping like a god. Who, when we put in that chair, will realize that actually this job is not for small boys. This is a tough ask. And that is what the problem is. Our expectations are so much. That's what I say, it's a big weight on his shoulders. And he doesn't realize. He probably thinks, next time I run, I want to be president. But the answer is, what kind of president will you be when people already treat you like you can't? Look at Buhari in the first 6 months. We don't need the ministers. Buhari will run this country by himself. I'm just giving you, I'm just taking you back. And these are the things I, as a politician, see, and I'm like, oh my God, we're in trouble. This is a Trump kind of like tunnel vision. We don't care. We don't want to hear anything. Feel. And it isn't good for a modern democracy. Do you know why? Because nobody can run a country on their own. Nobody can run a country honestly. No country. I'm not talking about Nigeria now. Nobody can run a country decently. Nobody. Because for those things to happen, you have to be in sort of like a Finland where the prison is empty, where nobody commits crime. If you're in an America, a Nigeria, a Ghana, a Russia, you are fighting wars every single day, even in your own homes. Your staff. I'm sure you have some experience. You hire staff to do a job in Nigeria, you leave them alone. When you come back 2 months later, your country is bust. So how do you then tell me that I am going to be a decent leader, an honest leader? I'll become a criminal myself. I'll probably hide cameras, be spying on them at night, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So it's the reality of the situation. I'm afraid.
With the way things have gone in Nigeria politically, do you see any hope in Nigeria at all now? Do you think Nigeria, because people have been saying Nigeria will get better for how many years now? But with the way everything has gone, do you see the country getting better?
I think Nigeria did get better. Let's be fair to Obasanjo, to maybe even to Jonathan. Nigeria did get better. But what happened was that Buhari happened to Nigeria and APC, and it was, the worst kind of calamity that can befall a nation. It was like a plague.
Do you think we can ever get back from?
I think the only way is up from where we are right now. I believe so, honestly. I think even if you put a 2-year-old in that chair today, 2-year-old, I think they would do a better job than the last man did. I say that without, apologies. Because honestly, what did they turn to Nigeria into? It became a joke, from people sharing money on the streets to building rice pyramids that are no longer there, to all sorts of, and all this we had to endure when we even complained. Look at how we were treated. I mean, like, a 2-year-old will do better than these guys. And I think that Tinubu has a rare opportunity to write them in goal, because you know what? Whose track record is he competing against? Buhari. It's a no-brainer. Tinubu will win. I can tell you for free. And he will win big, because Buhari was absolutely not a non-starter.
That's true.
And it doesn't mean that we will have the Nigeria that we want. But I always say to people, the problem in Nigeria, we're always in a hurry for Nigeria to become like the UK. But what we need to do is constantly improve. Obasanjo was a great improvement.
And how long do you think it'll take us to become like a country like the UK?
It will probably take us 100 years.
Jesus, Lord.
My children will not be allowed to see it.
That's not motivating at all. That's not motivating at all.
It's not supposed to be. But the forebearers of the United Kingdom, they are long dead. They can't see the underground.
So basically, none of us will be here when.
Not our children, not our grandchildren. I don't think. I think that the reason why I say so is that Nigeria needs a mindset shift, complete mindset shift. Nigeria needs a reset, and Nigeria, like I always say, has to die before she can live. Nigeria has to be brought to her knees. I think Buhari,
are we not already?
I think Buhari just about did it. You can see with the free fall of the Naira now. Once they basically put the Naira in a cage, and the Naira was making noise, the cage was being rattled. Tinubu just came and said, "You know what, guy, your noise is too much. Go."
Bring it out.
And so Naira the dollar, and then dollar has just run out of the cage and it's just running away. From 750, 720 to 750 to 800 today, to 810, 15. Run away to $1,000. But that is what an economy should be. It should determine itself, not somebody determining it. What the price of a dollar should be, what the inflation rate should be. It should be self-determined. As in, it should just be natural. So I think that we are on the verge of something really great. Please don't get me wrong. I am not a Tinubu supporter. But you have to think about the last 8 years and think about what that represented. It was the most amazing, negatively amazing thing I'd seen in my life. It's like the 9th wonder of the world, or anything like that. Because, like somebody said, a friend of mine said that, how can, I think it was Shegun Shomi that said, it befuddles him that, let's even move away from the OB conversation. Let's move to the APC conversation. These people impoverished Nigerians. These people continue to support Buhari when Buhari was messing up. These people gave us the highest rates of insecurity. People could no longer feed their family. Everybody became a beggar. I mean, everybody. There are people in Nigeria that own houses that are worth billions that were begging for food because they had no cash flow. They gave us the worst rates of forex rates. From you woke up one day and the rates are doubled. So essentially, people that had credit, what do they call that thing? When a foreign company gives you credit. So a company gives you credit, says take 500 cars on credit, $100 million. You wake up the next day and you are owing the guy 200 million. You wake up the next day, you're owing 500 million. Do you understand? So it means you have to sell your cars at 2.5 times the price. And nobody is buying, even at the 200 million. You know, and that wrecked a lot of businesses. I mean, and this guy still came back and won an election. I mean, that's something that needs to be discussed. That some people still woke up and went to vote for. You know, even if it's 5 people, I will say, please go and call the 5. I want to ask them some questions. Are you people normal? But it just goes to show you what a democracy really should be. It is something that should confuse us because it doesn't work like we want it to work. But it's also something that we should be able to correct. And I think that, you know, Tinubu will do well because Tinubu has always had a team of people around him. The Wale Eduns, the new Ribadus, the Cardosos, and all sorts of other silent gems that operate in the background. And he's always had these people around him for the last 20 years, 25 years.
So before we round up, I'm just going to ask you 3 random questions. Okay.
Random.
Should I shoot?
Yeah, shoot.
Question number 1. Why don't you live in Nigeria when you're so passionate about Nigeria?
I've done that. I think I always said that I would live in Nigeria for as long as I could. But as I got older, there was a need for me to also step back. I did the Nigerian thing for 14 years. I think at some point I was traveling 5 times a year when my mom was ill. And then after a while, when she died, I stopped coming to the UK. So for like 5-6 years, I didn't even go anywhere. I think I only went to Ghana or something once. So yeah, I've done the Nigerian thing. I think that I'm passionate about Nigeria. I still enjoy it when I go back to Nigeria. But there comes a time in your life when you must sort of like change your own strategy. And I think my strategy is that I want to live long.
You don't want Nigeria to kill you. Someone once said there's no need. You know, other country, you die for America, die for this country. You don't need to die for Nigeria. Nigeria will kill you.
Exactly. I don't want to die young. I want to, because you see, my dad, when he retired from the University of Lagos, was really struggling with his health. And I was the one that just woke up one day and said, you know what, enough is enough. You've got to move back, to the UK and live. So he moved in and stayed with me for about a few months till he got his own place. And my dad is 87 now.
Wow.
Now, my dad still goes to Waitrose, Tesco's by himself on the bus at 87. I want to live that life. I want to be able to live a healthy life as an adult, as an aged person. Nigeria will take so much from you.
Yes.
If my dad had been starting generators and shouting every day, pump water, do this one, change over, it's just too much. I think the basic things in Nigeria have to be fixed, before people can actually enjoy living there. Because even the people that my friends will always tell me, we are not going anywhere. This is where we are going to die. I always catch that. I say, well, your child is schooling abroad. Your child has been schooling abroad for the last 15 years. I say, me too, I can stay in Nigeria and soldier it. But my children will be abroad. I say, you're not patriotic. If you are patriotic, your children will be good schools, good universities in Nigeria. Let them go to those universities. What are they schooling abroad for? And those are people that are very well to do. So you know that we have problems, genuine problems. And I, for one, I spent quite a bit of time. I spent the last sort of like this year, I spent, I think, about 3 months in Nigeria. I'd like to be able to do that, spend 6 months in Nigeria, 6 months here. But it would, be under certain conditions. When I'm in Nigeria, I live like a king. I don't even have the life I in Nigeria. I don't have that life here. I have people waiting hand and foot. I don't have to do anything. I just wake up and get in my car and go out, come back. Everything is done. And that life is nice. But also it has attendant problems. You have to make sure you have diesel in the house. You have to make sure you have even water, ordinary water that we don't open tap here. So, it's difficult for you to, want to live in that environment.
Question number 2. What's your greatest accomplishment?
Greatest accomplishment. That's a good one. What is it? I think, to be honest, what makes me proud, to be Babasola Kuti, I think it's probably, my greatest accomplishment is probably like the stuff I do with children.
Mm.
I think that's my greatest. Children, like, always just had a passion for children, helping children. In the past, I used to even fundraise for kids on social media. Now, thank God, I've been slightly blessed. So I do a lot of stuff quietly. I'm mentoring. I'm also, educating. I'm, just doing little things in my own little corner. Not a lot, but little things. And I'm happy that, God has really put that in my heart, that this is what my calling is, to really be there for, the young kids who perhaps don't have the opportunities that I had. And so I think my greatest achievement, I would say, is all those children I was able to raise money for, get them to have surgeries, holding the heart surgeries. One was attacked by dogs. Another young boy who had diabetes and was really in a bad way. I was able to get him help. And those are the things that is my legacy.
I never see you put any of this online. Some people, when they're doing good, they'll put everything online.
No, I think that in the past, when I used to fundraise, I used to put them online because I needed to get my friends to also support those causes. But in recent time, I just get on with it as much as I can. I support a few charities quietly. It's my mom always said that whatever you do is between you and God. So even people, I always tell them, don't go and write post on social media, thank you for doing this. I say, please, it's just between us. And I think that's such a good legacy. Although on the flip side, if people don't see other people doing good, it may not prompt them to do good.
Yeah, I know, encourage.
But I always say to people that you can't be the one, you can't do some, if it was son, and be the one saying, by the way, I did this, then it's self-serving. So I just think we leave it as it is.
My last question. What is your greatest memory?
Greatest memory? It's funny that you say this because a few days ago I was thinking about it. My greatest memory. This is a hard one. You have to cut this. Let me think about it. My greatest memory.
You have too many great memories.
I think my greatest memory will be okay. Actually, let me tell you my greatest memory that maybe shaped me politically. And I was probably about 7 or 8, and I was in a village called Bongo in Oyo State. In Osun State now, it used to be Oyo State. And my mom's sister married Chief Abiola Morakian, who was a politician at the time in, I think, UPN days. And I think a big part of me always remembers this, that as a kid, Bola Ige came into the house. He was governor of Oyo State at the time. Came in this convoy of cars, came into the village. I think there was a funeral or remembrance or something for my uncle's mom. And he came and he just carried me on, as he saw me, and put me on his lap, and he sat in this business and they were talking. I couldn't, because we were speaking mostly in the Oyo dialect, and you really conquer it, but I couldn't place what they were saying. But I always say that whatever it is they were saying, it propelled me to want to do politics, even from an early age. I can't remember a word that was uttered in that meeting, but I just felt like I was in the midst of so much power. And several years later, I was on the same flight to Bola Ige and still saw that humility. Him going to see, he was the Minister of Justice then, and him going to sit in economic cabinet. Those are people that's why I like Peter Obi's, fullback style, as I call it. Those are people that I admire, people who really understand service. The service is showing people that you are like them. So if you don't sit on a bus, if you don't sit in economic cabin, how can you then know that it's too expensive to fly economic cabin? When all your tickets are paid for by the government, you're in business class all the time with big people talking about your so-called big man's issues. You don't know what's happening at the back. And I think that for me, I think that single moment meeting Bola Ige as a kid, without realizing at the time that, look, I was meeting the governor of a state. I think there were 19 states then or something. So it was such a big deal. That, I think, single moment is something that I'd never forget, in my entire life.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much for coming to our studio today.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I had a lot of laughs. So, okay, one last question. Will you ever run for presidency?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm done. I'm absolutely done with politics. I've explained this to people that, I believe that politics should be stepped down for people at a young age. I wish when I started politics, I was probably in my 20s. I wish that I had stayed in the game, but I then relocated and came here to study. So that pushed me out of the scene. But I wish I had stayed in the game from my 20s up until now, because that would have been a 30-year spell. But what happened is I left in 1990, I think 1993, after the MKO saga. And then I didn't return to Nigeria until 2003, when Obasanjo was trying to get a few of us to go back from diaspora. So when you look at what has happened in that period, it means that, I basically stayed out of the game. And then in 2003, I became an essay to a senator, and then came back into the game for a while, and then got fed up and left the game. And, so essentially, if I had continued on my trail from that as a 22-year-old kid till now, it would have been, a completely different story, maybe.
Okay.
So for me, I think I'm done. I think nobody should do anything for more than 30 years, really. And yeah, you may see me on a ticket one day, say, vice president, but it won't be my ticket. But essentially, what I'm saying is that if somebody that means well for Nigeria comes and says, come and be my running mate, I may do it. If it's someone that I think means well, but other than that, you would never see me contesting for office. I can tell you that for free. I'm retired.
No, thank you very much, Ola.
So much.
So thank you for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and of course, share. Thank you very much. See you later. Thank you so much, Ola.